welcome to Crappy Cooking Videos with Rob. Now, as we all have been told, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That said, being it's 9:30, I thought I would make myself a little bit of breakfast. Now, breakfast is often things like cereal, so today we are going to be making some cereal, which will be a great way to start our glorious day here on Okinawa. But first, the mise en place. Okay, so let me show you what we have for our mise en place to make our glorious cereal for this morning. Okay, to make our cereal this morning, I've got some Rice Krispies, and it's actually a mixture of both Rice Krispies and Corn Chex, all right? Because I didn't have enough of everything. So Rice Krispies and Corn Chex, a little bit of, well, other stuff. In case you didn't figure this out yet, for me, my bowl of cereal this morning is going to actually be a bowl of glorious Rice Krispie treats, but we're not going with the standard Rice Krispie treat. We're going to make it a little more interesting, give it a little more something something. So what we're going to start out with is a couple ounces of butter that are going to be going in there. This is unsalted butter because that is what I prefer to use for most cooking applications. So we got some unsalted butter going in there just by itself. We're going to crank that up on medium-ish, whatever that is on your stove, and we're going to let that melt and then cook a little bit. We're going to make it some brown butter. Brown butter simply means that you're taking that butter and you're starting to caramelize the natural milk sugars, the milk solids, some of the proteins. It's going to bring out a lot more flavor, a lot more interesting quality to it to add some depth to the Rice Krispie treats. In addition to that, I'm going to be throwing in, so that's 2 ounces of butter. Here I've got 3 ounces of slivered almonds. All right, no, excuse me, not slivered. Yes, slivered, not sliced, slivered. There we go. I'm gonna throw those in as well. While I'm browning that butter, I also want to toast off these almonds, give them a little more depth, a little more interesting characteristic, and add a little bit more nutritional value to our Rice Krispie treats for our breakfast. Because if you add almonds, it's healthy. As you can see, I've let this go for a minute or two now. Butter is nicely melted, getting nice and foamy. The nuts are toasting in that butter, and it's starting to get that brown quality. You can start to smell that kind of caramelly goodness going on there, and some random wire hanging out in the shot. So that's what we're going for. We'll be moving on momentarily. Now, one of the key things when you're doing this is once your brown butter gets to the right spot, you have to get your temperature down so it does not burn. So in go my marshmallows. In this case, it is the standard roughly 10 ounces of marshmallow. At this point, we also make sure our heat is down as low as we reasonably can so we can melt that marshmallow and not burn anything. One thing we don't want to do is caramelize the marshmallows. That would be terrible because it ends up turning into a candy and it's not pleasant to eat. We also want to make sure we throw in there a nice little pinch of salt. That's going to help balance out some of the sweetness, bring out some more of those nice rich toasty notes so that we can have yummy cereal for breakfast. Because remember, we're making cereal. We are most definitely not making a giant pile of sugar. Now, in the bowl here, the next ingredient to go in is my mixture of Rice Krispies and Corn Chex. The reason I do that is I like the extra crunch and the flavor that Corn Chex give, but it's not quite an equal ratio. So I've got 4 ounces by weight of Rice Krispies and 3 ounces by weight of Corn Chex. These are just regular Corn Chex, not the honey nut, not anything different. It adds a nice bit of texture, a nice bit of crunch, and it makes it more interesting than the regular plain old Rice Krispie treat. So at this point, my marshmallows are melted. My nuts in there are good. So now we simply toss in that pile of cereal, give it a nice stir, getting everything coated happily. Surprisingly, it's harder work than it seems, just to stir in some Rice Krispies. And once everything's stirred in, I'm going to go ahead and dump it onto a parchment-lined sheet pan. Now, normally, when you use parchment paper, It is good enough as it is. But being that this is a giant pile of sticky marshmallowy goodness, I actually butter my parchment paper. You could, in theory, use pan spray, but pan spray doesn't taste very good. So I use a little bit of butter just smeared all over the sheet of parchment, and that way it releases better. And in the background, you have a small child. All right, so this is my breakfast. A nice pile of browned butter and toasted almond Rice Krispie treats. Have a great day, and I will see you next time on Crappy Cooking Videos with Rob.